Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's Super Tuesday. Didn't you know that? Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us here. And if you didn't hear from the voice from above, I'm Oneida County Executive Anthony Picenti, and I am honored to welcome Governor Cuomo back to Oneida County today, to the Mohawk Valley, as he shares his vision for building a new New York. But first, I'd like to recognize some of our special guests, some of the elected officials that have joined us here today. Robert Palmieri, the mayor of Utica. Honorable Joseph Fusco, the mayor of Rome. Not sure if he's out there. Jerry Fiorini, the chairman of the Oneida County Board of Legislators. Since we are in his town, the Honorable Brian Scala, the supervisor of the town of Marcy. Vince Bono, the chairman of the Herkimer County Board of Legislators. Vince? And one of my partners in county government, the Honorable Rob Macho, the sheriff of Oneida County. There's the sheriff. Also, we have the senior class from New York Mills High School with us today. Where are they? And students from the Remsen Central School District. Thank you again all for attending. In a few moments, we'll be hearing Governor Cuomo's plan to continue to restore our economy, to create jobs, and to keep New York on the right path. The governor has been traveling across New York State discussing his reform agenda directly with the people as he is here today. As a county executive, one of the most important aspects of the governor's vision for New York is mandate relief. Last year, his team enacted $125 million in mandate relief, which was a strong starting point. This year, he is calling for the state to do even more by proposing a state takeover of the growth of Medicaid costs and reforms to the early education programs that will save Oneida County alone more than $11 million over the next 5 years. In addition, his pension reform plan creates a new Tier 6 and would save this county and the local governments here over $700 million over the next 30 years. Thank you. These are real savings that can be put forward towards infrastructure projects such as we are experiencing here at SUNY IT, improvements to our schools, and lower our taxes. We have been asking Albany for this kind of relief for years, for decades, and no one listened. Governor Cuomo is not like others that we have seen in Albany before. He listens to the people. He is in our communities. He hears our voice and he fights for us. The turnaround we've seen in Albany since Governor Cuomo took office has been remarkable. I'm eager to see what awaits and what can be accomplished, what we can accomplish together in 2012. And now, before the governor speaks, it's my pleasure to introduce a great friend of the Mohawk Valleys, a great friend of mine, the commissioner, the OGS commissioner and former assemblywoman, the Honorable Roanne DeStito.
So you can see me. Thank you, County Executive Picenti. Thank you, Anthony. It's my great pleasure to welcome everyone to Utica today, especially our governor. It's hard to believe it has been just 14 months since Andrew Cuomo was sworn in as governor of the state of New York. So much has been accomplished in that short time. Having served almost 2 decades in the legislature before becoming commissioner, I can say with confidence that Albany is a very different and much improved place, and our entire state is stronger because of it. We now have a government that is finally working to solve the problems of the people of New York. We have a government where Republicans and Democrats are all working together. And we have a government that balanced the budget last year with no new taxes and no new borrowing, and we did it on time for the first time in many years. Most importantly, Governor Cuomo is leading the effort to rebuild our local economy and strengthen our business competitiveness. He is doing it by forging strong partnerships and attracting new industries to the Mohawk Valley, like the Marcy Nanotech Complex here at SUNY IT. I know that he cares deeply about the Utica-Rome area and that our region has a true friend in Governor Cuomo. When he was elected governor, he promised to change things, to get things done, to put people before politics, and that's exactly what we need here in Utica and all across New York State. He has done it again and again, showing the kind of leadership we need: strong, effective, consistent, and always for the people. It was that leadership that inspired me to join his administration as the OGS commissioner, a job I can tell you never stops. He sets an example for all who serve what government can be at its best, and I'm proud of the work that we can do together. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to join me in welcoming the man who has done so much to turn around New York, to bring back independent leadership, and most of all, to get government working for the people. I am proud to be a part of that effort. I am proud to serve in his administration. I am proud to welcome him back to Utica, and I'm proud to introduce you to the Governor of the State of New York, Andrew Cuomo.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon to SUNY IT and to Marcy and to Utica and to Rome. It's a pleasure to be here once again. So many elected officials who I have the pleasure of serving with. First, your County Executive, Anthony Pacenti, who's doing a great job. He's a great colleague and partner for us in Albany. Let's give him a round of applause. County Executive Anthony Pacenti. And Mayor Palmieri and Mayor Fusco, who have been introduced already, but it's a pleasure to be with you. Let's give them a round of applause. Your assembly people and senators are back in Albany working. Roanne and I are playing a little hooky from Albany today, and we're here. But Assemblyman Brindisi and Senator Griffo send their regards, and let's give them a round of applause. And I want you to know I stole the best local elected official. When I stole Roanne DeStito to come to Albany as the OGS commissioner. Pleasure to be with you. And where is our high school today? Where are you? Let's hear the high school students who are here today. Let's stand up and give them a round of applause. New York Mills High School. Okay. Well, it is my pleasure to be here. And as Roanne said, it's been about a year, a little bit over a year that I've been governor. And Roanne said to me, as we were sitting here in the front row, I said, how do you like the job? How do you like working in the administration? Because it's a big change for Roanne. She went from the legislature to the executive. So I said, how do you like being commissioner? She said, I like it, but she said, it's a lot of work all the time. It is a lot of work all the time. So it's been a long year. I didn't always look like this. I didn't look like this a year ago. A lot of this gray hair is all new. Lines in my face are all new, the scars of a year in Albany, I guess. I was at an event a few weeks ago, and there was a woman who I'd known for many, many years. I hadn't seen her recently, and she starts walking up to me, and she gets up close, and she steps back and does a double take. She looks at me, and she said, you look, I said, the word is older. That's what you're looking for, older. She said, no, more distinguished. I said, yes, the word is older. That's the word. It has been a long year, but it's been a very good year, and a year that I wouldn't trade for any other year in my life. We actually did what we said we were going to do, and we were going to make government work to serve the people, to make this state a better state. And that reward makes it all worth it. And I think it brings us to a point where we can even do more for the state and bring more progress to the state. And that's what we want to talk to you about today. The beginning part of the year, the governor, the state government lays out the vision for the state, called the State of the State. The President of the United States does the State of the Nation address, State of the County address, Governor does the State of the State address, and then a budget, and the budget is the specifics of how you're going to spend the money, the specific plan on how to reach that vision. And normally this is done in Albany, and the governor will present the State of the State and the budget to the legislature. We want to do it a little differently. I presented the State of the State and the budget to the legislature, but I want to present it to you because this is really about you. And when I was elected, I said I want to change the paradigm. I want to really represent the people. And this plan is about your community and about your family and about your children. And I want to hear what you think, and I want your feedback, and I want you to be part of this, because if you're part of it, it's going to work. Last year, just to recap where we were when we started, last year when we started, state was in very bad shape. New Yorkers were hurting, what the economy was doing, what the economy is still doing. Very few people have been immune to the economic pain. And Albany was a story of scandal. It was a story of partisanship. It was a story of ineffective government. We had a $10 billion deficit, one of the greatest deficits in the history of the state. But more than a fiscal deficit, we had a trust deficit, a performance deficit, an integrity deficit. People just didn't trust state government anymore. All across the state. It's not that they just had a fanciful idea. They were right not to trust state government. The state government hadn't performed in a way it should have. So it was a bad combination. You had a state with people who had very real problems, and you had a government that didn't have the credibility or the capacity to actually serve the people and help solve the problems. And we said we were at a crossroads, and we had a choice to make. We could either remain dysfunctional and divided, or we could come together, we could literally reestablish the government and start to rebuild the state. Well, we made the right choice last year together. We began to change the culture of Albany, and that's what it's really about. It's about changing the culture. When you talk about a pattern of behavior that goes on 10, 15 years, it's now a culture. And we're in the process of changing the culture, and it's not easy. And part of the change is to put the people first, and we did that last year. And last year's legislative session will go down in the history books as one of the most productive legislative sessions in modern political history. And the thanks really goes to the legislature. They're not with us today, but let's give your delegation a round of applause, who really did a great job. Not only did they do a great job, but now that I look at them, they are a really good-looking bunch of people, too, aren't they? Let's give them another round of applause for being a good-looking group of people. When you look at the list of accomplishments, we closed the $10 billion gap. We passed the first ever property tax cap, which is very important and is going to be able to keep people in their homes, so we're not taxing people right out of their homes. We closed 3,800 unnecessary prison beds. We eliminated an MTA payroll tax that was crushing small businesses. We passed the toughest rent regulations in 30 years. We started a whole new economic development campaign, an affordable energy policy. We provided desperately needed flood relief. Remember, in the middle of last year, we had Storm Irene and Lee that did tremendous damage across the state. We passed ethics reform for the first time to clean up Albany, and we attacked chronic high unemployment among inner city youth with a new innovative jobs program. And we also had two major accomplishments in two very important areas. First, in the area of social justice, we literally made history in the state of New York. And we led the nation when we passed marriage equality for all New Yorkers, and we stopped discrimination once and for all. But we didn't stop there. For decades, New Yorkers were burdened by a really unfair tax code. And it was this simple. Whether you made $20,000 a year or $20 million a year, you paid taxes at the same rate in the state of New York. Believe it or not, 20,000 or 20 million, you paid taxes at the same rate. It was just plain wrong. We brought fairness to New York with a very simple principle. The more you make, the higher the rate you pay, and it is a progressive tax code. At the same time, we reduced taxes on the middle class to the lowest level in 58 years. What is middle class? From $30,000 to $300,000. If you're between $30,000 and $300,000, we reduced taxes to the lowest level in 58 years. Now, 58 years is so long, it's hard to even get your head around what 58 years was, right? It was a really, really long time ago. 58 years ago was 1953. Gasoline was 29 cents a gallon, last time taxes were this low. Elvis Presley, the man, was registering for the draft. Jackie Robinson was playing second base for the Brooklyn Dodgers. It was so long ago that I was just a twinkle in my father's eye. But he had big plans even then, my father. He was thinking ahead. So last year was a great year for the state of New York, but even more, it's a better place to step up from. We have credibility, we have momentum, and the question is, how do we take the next step? Because we've accomplished a lot, there's no doubt, but we've also only just begun, and it's time to really get to work to build a new New York, and a New York that is open for business. Because it's all about jobs, jobs, jobs. The best thing we can do on the state side is get that economy running. If the economy is running, and there are jobs, and there are promotions, and there are opportunities, then families will take care of themselves. If the economy is running and businesses are flourishing and paying taxes, the county executive will have a tax base, the mayors will have a tax base, they can help themselves. So the best thing we can do is get the state's economy running. And we're doing this on a two-level approach, a new economic development strategy that is a macro level and a micro level. From a macro level, we have to change the perception of this state and change the reality of this state and make it a business-friendly state. At the same time, we have to understand that the economy in this state works in regions. There is no one New York State economy. There's a North Country economy, there's a Mohawk Valley economy, there's a Long Island economy. And if you want to really build the economy, you have to go region by region and come up with an economic development plan for that region and let it build up. We started changing the perception of New York as an anti-business state last year by passing a budget with no new taxes and actually reined in spending. And that was very important. We have no future in this state if we are the tax capital of the nation. Businesses are mobile, they will leave. Families are mobile, they will leave. We have to get that the answer isn't always more taxes, more taxes, more taxes. The answer is the opposite. You have to make this government work, and you have to live within your means. Just like every individual, just like every family in this state has to do. And that's what government has to do, and we started that last year. We want to continue it this year. We have a $2 billion deficit in the state budget, meaning we have a $2 billion hole. Compared to last year, where it was a $10 billion hole, it sounds small. $2 billion is still real money, and it's still a significant gap. My pledge to you, and what my budget does, is it closes that $2 billion gap with no new taxes, no fees, no gimmicks, no kidding, period. We made progress last year. We have to keep it going this year. It also proposes pension reform. When you look at the balance sheet of any government, the city, the county, the state, the cost of public pensions will bankrupt this state if we don't stop it. We just can't afford to pay the continuing growth of the pensions. And we have to change it, and we have to change it now and provide fair pension benefits, but also pension benefits that we can afford. And that's an initiative that's in this budget. The Regional Economic Development Councils, which we set up last year, are working extraordinarily well. There's a lot of energy. Your council came up with a really exciting plan that was awarded $60 million. I want to have a second round of programs to keep that energy going and keep that growth going this year. We've been working on high-tech jobs and nanotech jobs. We've been working with Intel and IBM, and we have a very exciting program that will create 400 jobs right here. And we're in the second phase of that this year, and I want to put more energy behind the partnership with Intel and IBM. This state is on to something with nanotechnology. It started in the Capital District region, but it is moving all across upstate New York. And we are becoming the nanotech capital of the world if we do this right. Intel and IBM are two of the most sophisticated companies on this planet. And they shopped the entire globe for a location. And they chose upstate New York for their location. We're on to something. We have to keep it going. And we have to make more things here in this state of New York to drive our economy. Another potential is casino gaming. Now, casino gaming is controversial. And casino gaming is also misunderstood. But it's time we confronted reality. By law, our state constitution says that gambling is unconstitutional, except we allow gaming on tribal casinos, tribal lands. Why? Because tribal lands are not subject to our state constitution. And then in a way to get around the constitutional prohibition, we created something called racinos. What are racinos? Racinos were created because we can't have casinos, because casinos sound like gambling, so the state legislature created racinos. What is a racino? Racino is a casino with an R. That's what a racino is. And we now have racinos all over the state and actual casinos on Native American lands. Now, I said this in my State of the State, and my sister called me up and said, you know, you said we don't have casinos in New York. She said, you're wrong. We do have casinos. Now, it's my sister, and it's my older sister, so you're wrong, and I had to resist the temptation to. I said, no, I'm not wrong. I'm really not. The Constitution says you can't gamble, so we don't have casinos. We have racinos. She says, no, you're wrong. I was in one. It was a casino. I said, no, you were in a racino. She said, I was not in a racino. I said, well, then you were on Native American lands. She said, I have never been on Native American lands. I was not. I was in a casino. I said, well, you're wrong. She said, no, you're wrong. I said, I'm not wrong. I'm the governor. I'm the governor. I'm not wrong. I didn't want to use the G word, but I had to. So I wanted to get at the point of confusion because my sister is a smart person. So it turns out, if you look at the racinos that we have created, no one would know they were a racino, casino with an R. They would think they're just a casino. Why would they think that? Because they call themselves casinos. That's why. So if you went to any of them, you would think you are going to a casino because that's what they are called. Not to mention the casinos which are on the Native American lands, which really are casinos. So this is the current state of play in New York, pardon the pun. We actually have 29,000 gaming machines in the state of New York, more than Atlantic City. That is where we are now. Our Constitution still says no gambling, but we are in the gambling business big time. Let's amend the Constitution. Let's recognize the reality, and let's do it right. If you said we're in the gaming business, then you would have gone to a different place. Then you would have been taxing these businesses to make sure New York has a certain share of the revenue, or fair share of tax revenue. Then you would have established a gaming commission, like the states that have gaming, like Nevada, and you would have protected New Yorkers to make sure these are fair establishments and someone's checking the machines and checking the rules. We haven't done that because we're still at this point of denial that we're not in the gambling business. We are. Recognize the reality, protect New Yorkers, collect the revenue, and keep the jobs right here at New York and use it as a potential for economic development. I want to do that this year. We also we need to get the economy running. We also have a great opportunity by investing in New York State's infrastructure because we need the jobs and we need to rebuild our infrastructure to be competitive and safe. When you look at where we are now, we have to do it anyway. 32% of the roads are rated, bridges are rated deficient, 40% of the roads, 83% of the state parks are in major disrepair. We need to do the investment. Let's do it now. We want to improve bridges statewide, including those bridges in the Mohawk Valley. We want to repair hundreds of miles of roads, 10 miles in Otsego, 40 in Herkimer, 60 in Montgomery, 100 in Oneida. Why so many in Oneida? I really don't know why, but because we like Pacenti. So Pacenti gets 100 miles of road. Let's hear for Anthony Pacenti. Municipal water systems, the same thing. Flood control projects, because we learned this lesson last year from the storms and the floods. And I was out there, and I want to make sure it doesn't happen again. In total, a $15 billion Rebuild New York campaign that creates over 15,000 jobs. Also part of the economic development plan is providing power. If you want to build the economy, you're going to need power to build the economy, and low-cost power. Any business you talk to, one of the first things on their list is, can I get power, and is the power affordable, and is the supply abundant? We have power in the state of New York. We have great supply in the northern part and the western part. We have great demand more in the downstate area. We just have no way to connect the dots right now to provide the economic opportunity all across the state. There's an economic opportunity in the supply. There's an economic opportunity in the demand. I want to build an energy grid across the state that I believe will be a parallel to Eisenhower's highway system that just exploded the economy when you allowed the economy to transport. The transportation system of today is an energy grid. The state can master plan it. We can give it to private sector companies to build. I believe if private sector companies will invest $2 billion to build the grid, and it's probably the best single investment this state can make. If you're talking economic development, you're also talking education, because they are one and the same. We have a gem in New York. Our SUNY system was a great gift given us by our forebears. It's a quality education system and an affordable education system. I want to invest more in SUNY, especially in upstate New York, and make the SUNY centers centers of academic excellence and engines of economic development in those regions. The two hats that SUNY should wear. Last year, we started this program calling it New York SUNY 2020. I want to continue it this year for 60 campuses competing for $20 million awards. And it's also a year that we have to focus and make real progress on our top priority. And for me, my top priority is really about public education. And it's probably where I learned the most important lesson my first year as governor. I was schooled, if you will, in the area of public education. And I learned that education is really big business with a lot of money behind it in the state. And I learned that everyone in education has a lobbyist. The superintendents, they have lobbyists. Principals have lobbyists. Teachers, they have lobbyists. School boards have lobbyists. By the way, this is not an actual lobbyist that we're looking at. But he looks a lot like the lobbyists who are there. Maintenance personnel have lobbyists. Bus drivers have lobbyists. Do you know the only group in Albany that doesn't have lobbyists? The students. That is exactly right. Well, that is going to change this year. I'm taking a second job. I want you to know now. I'm going to continue to be the governor. I'm also going to be a student lobbyist. That's my door. That's my new title on my door. I'm going to do it pro bono. I don't want any ethical problems with the legislature saying I have outside income, because we need to change the way we think about education, fundamentally. And education should be about the student's interest and not the business interests. It sounds simple, but it is all the difference in the world. And we have to change our thinking from process to results, from the system to the individual, from the salaries and pensions of people who work in education to the graduation and test results of the students who are supposed to be served by education. Stop focusing on the bureaucracy and start focusing on the student. Stop focusing on the adults and worry about the students and the children, because that's what education is supposed to be about. Now, there's a national movement that's happening all across the nation that is actually looking at the performance of education systems. You want to hear a frightening number? New York State spends more money to educate a student than any state in the nation. Okay? Number 1 in terms of spending per pupil. We're number 38 in graduation rates. Number 1 in spending, number 38 in graduation rate. And we have no idea why or where. We function with this mentality in Albany, the more money the better. No, it's not just how much you spend, it's what you achieve, it's the results. We haven't been measuring it, we don't understand it in education. The whole national movement now is for performance evaluations, so you actually know what's working and what's not working. Now, 2 years ago, the federal government ran a competition for states to qualify for funding, and the federal government was saying that they would fund states that put in a teacher evaluation system. Why? Because if you can evaluate the teacher, then you can evaluate what's working, what's not working, teachers who are doing well, teachers who need assistance. If you have a teacher evaluation, then you have a school evaluation system. Then you have a district evaluation system. Then you can compare, you have data. 2 years ago, the state said, we compete for the grant and we win the federal grant, $700 million, to put in a teacher evaluation system. 2 years later, 700 school districts in the state. You know how many school districts had a teacher evaluation system? 0. Nada, zilch, skata. Why? Because the bureaucracy resisted. Because the bureaucracy didn't want the measurement to be put into place. And it's a complicated equation. So 2 years we accomplished nothing. I said in January, if the state education department and the teachers' unions didn't agree on an evaluation system after 2 years, I would put my own evaluation system in law. And I gave them 1 month to figure it out after 2 years. 1 month later, I'm pleased to report, they accepted an evaluation system, and the state of New York is now leading the nation with one of the first teacher evaluation systems that are in place. And that was done on February 16th. New York is now a national model. The next step is for the local districts to accept the state model and negotiate the local application school district by school district. What I have said there in the budget is I intend to raise education funding 4% next year because we believe in education. But if a school district does not have the teacher evaluation system in place, they will not be eligible for the 4% increase. At one point, we have to get performance for our money, and we have to get accountability for our money. And we have to say to these government bureaucracies, at the end of the day, you have to produce. You have to produce, and you have to deliver, especially for our children. If you want the state funding, do your job and come up with a teacher evaluation system. Otherwise, you're not getting the funding. The equation is simple: no evaluation, no money, period, for dramatic effect. Last point is, I believe New York is on the way back. I believe there is a new energy. I believe there is a different feeling. You feel it all across the state. You hear it from business leaders. This has been major change last year, and it's going to be major change again this year. It sounds simple when it's on a slideshow, but you're talking about major change. And change is hard. Change is hard in every aspect of life. It's a fascinating concept, change. We all say we want change, right? But we don't really mean that we want to change. You can go to any kitchen table in the morning, any husband and wife couple, and you say, do we need change? And they'll go, oh, we need change. We need a lot of change around here. But if you probe a little deeper, you find out they really want the other person to change. They're doing just fine themselves. It's the other person that needs change. We like control in our lives. They have a lot of work to do. Change is hard. And change is hard on an individual level. Imagine on a collective level. Imagine when you go to Albany, you're trying to change 700 school districts. You're trying to change basic behavior patterns that have been in place for 15 years. You're trying to change power structures. And every law in Albany, every regulation wasn't just written. It was written purposefully. Every comma, every period. There's a reason why things are the way things are. State government, it's a $130 billion budget. That's a lot of money. And when you start to change that one way or the other, you're affecting a lot of money and you're disrupting a lot of powerful entities. So when does change happen? Change happens when you make change happen. Change happens when we make change happen. And I need you to help make change happen in Albany. I can't do it alone. It's not you elect me, well, we elected the governor and we told him what to do and I'm supposed to go to Albany and make it happen. That's not how it's going to work. It's going to be us. It's going to be we. That's how it happened last year. That's how it's going to happen again this year. Democracy works when you make it work. That legislature, those people, there's two forces. I was there this morning. You walk through that Capitol, and the hallways are filled with lobbyists. And they're literally tugging at the legislators. Literally tugging at the legislators. And they're political donations, and there's a lot of money, and there's a lot of promises, and there's a lot of power. On the other hand, you have the people in the district. And the district has needs. And which force is more powerful? Is the Albany lobbying force more powerful? Or are the people in the district and the needs of the people in this state more powerful? You make that determination. I need you to get involved. I need your voice heard. Democracy only works when you stand up. And you can't think it's somebody else. Well, it's this person who's going to do it, this person's going to do it. The person in the mirror is the person who has to do it. I need you to make your voice heard. Let your local legislators know what you want done. Voice your support, and we will make this change. And to my young friends in the high school class, let me tell you one last point. I spent 8 years in Washington, D.C. I was a New York boy all my life, and then I went down, I joined the Clinton administration, first day of the Bill Clinton administration. And I traveled all across this country. Literally, I worked in every state in the United States, over 600 cities. I was the Housing and Urban Development Secretary. So I have been literally to every place across the country. There is no place and there is no state that can hold a candle to our great state of New York. Nobody has. Nobody has what we have here. Nobody has the demography and the history and the academic universities and the healthcare universities. Nobody has the people. Nobody has this. And it is a great state, the greatest in the nation. It's been the Empire State. And what we're going to do over these next few years, I truly believe, is going to bring this state to a level it's never seen yet. Because the best is yet to be in New York if we do what we need to do together. Thank you, and God bless you.
I want to thank Governor Cuomo for delivering such a strong and exciting vision for the future of our state of New York and here in the Mohawk Valley. Can we give him another round of applause? And I just want to say, I've been going around the state talking about the governor's budget, and I really want to emphasize to get involved and work together with the governor to build a new New York. Please visit www.newyorkgetinvolved.com. It will give you a lot of information, and you'll be able to follow the progress that's being made, and you can get involved. This concludes our program, and thank you very much for joining us.